Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Signed by Love. Thank you so much for tuning in. So last week we were talking about Aquaman, the movie, and how he was the one true king. You know, he was born it was in his blood, and talking about fear and how fear can tell us that we are not supposed to walk into something or we don't belong there when we have different dreams and callings and visions on our life and we're trying to go after something. Maybe that, it takes a stretch of faith on our part. It takes us out of our comfort zone, and so we find ourselves faced with fear, and fear says you're not good enough, says no entry, you're not allowed here, you're not worthy enough to do this thing that God's put in your heart, or this dream that you've always had, whether it's a dream to travel, it's a dream to start a ministry, it's a dream to foster children, it's a dream to work in a hospital, whatever it looks like, whatever dream God's put in your heart as a creative. Maybe you want to write songs, or you want to paint, or maybe you want to branch out and actually start your own store, start your own shop and do different things, whatever it is God's put in your heart. Maybe, as a stay-at-home mom, you're like, maybe, I'm a creative as well and I'd love to do stuff. Maybe I'd like to write a children's book, whatever it is. And sometimes we find ourselves faced with these lies and this accusing voice that tells us you're not good enough, or you've made too many mistakes, or who do you think you are, or even voices from maybe when we were kids, or whatever it looks like in different environments, and just things that have communicated to us that we're not good enough to actually step into the things that God says, and fear says no, you can't. But then I spoke about how God says, my darling, what if you fly? What if it all works out? And he says, you know what, even if you fail, I'm gonna catch you. But today I want to speak a little bit more about another moment in watching the movie Aquaman that really stood out to me, and I felt like God was speaking to me through it. So we're talking about that moment where Aquaman, it's this moment where he's gonna, bring unity to these two worlds, his human side and the side of his mother that's from another world. But what it takes is him going to grab this thing called a trident, and what he needs to do is to go to this place where other people have been before, but they've failed, they've never gone quite far enough. They were not able to get past to actually grab the trident. But the rule is that the one true king is the one that can actually grab a hold of this trident, and it's going to be key in actually saving the fate of the world. So as I was watching this movie and, just enjoying it and whatever, in it, I just felt God was speaking to me in this moment where his mom looks at him and she says, before he goes to grab the trident to try, and she says, you're afraid, huh? And he says, yes. And she says to him, good, it means you're ready. And I just found that, it just hit my heart, and I felt like that's what God says to us, even when we're afraid, even when we feel like, no, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. He looks at us and he sees the fear, but he says, it's okay, you're still ready. I believe in you. I believe in you. And one other thing that really stood out to me was that even though he came before the trident and he was talking about how he's not worthy, he doesn't feel good enough, and all of this stuff, all of this just bad self-confidence and really not believing that he's a king, is like, I can't be a king, I don't have the qualities, I don't have the character, I don't have the whatever it is, I'm just not the type of person. But you know what? Because it was actually in his blood, he was born to be that, even though he didn't feel like it, because it says that only the one true king would be able to grab the trident. As unworthy as he felt, as not good enough as he felt, he stepped towards it and he actually grabbed it and was able to actually take it out of the thing that it was in. Now, if he wasn't the one true king, he would have been rejected and he would have not been able to grab a hold of it. But do you know what? His feeling of unworthiness did not negate what his blood said. His feeling of unworthiness did not negate his inheritance because of the bloodline that he was born into. And so when he stepped out to it, feeling like he wasn't good enough, feeling like he couldn't possibly be the one true king, feeling like, who am I to do this thing? I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I've made too many failures. I'm not smart enough. Whatever it is that the enemy might be trying to say to you about going after your dreams and the things that God's put in your heart. And you might step in front of that door. You might step in front of that door of opportunity, and you're feeling like turning back because you're saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes to make it. And yet God says to you, hey, you're my son, you're my daughter, you're in the bloodline of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and that means that you qualify for every single thing that God has prepared for you. You are a one true king, you are a one true queen, because you are a child of God, you're chosen. Behold, what manner of love is this the Father has given us, that he should call us sons of God, daughters of God, children of the Most High. The Bible says that you are a royal priesthood, a holy nation, chosen ones. You're the beloved of God. This is who you are, whether you feel like it or not. If you've accepted Jesus Christ into your life, you were created to walk into everything that God has called you to do. Do you know what? Even if you don't know God, there's still a specific plan and purpose that He has for your life. He loves you so much, and actually He wants to come into your life and to give you the courage to walk towards the things that He has said about you, because you know what? When you begin to step up, they have no choice but to open up to you, just like the trident had no choice but to allow itself to be grabbed by Aquaman, because it knew, it recognized, oh, this one is of the bloodline of the kings. He actually is the one true king. He actually is the one for this time and for this season. And so I have to allow him to grab me. It's the same thing with your destiny. It's the same thing with the things that God has called you for. It's the same thing with the dreams and the passions that God has put inside of you. There's visions that you've had and you're like, oh, could I really do it? Me, could I really achieve something so great in my life? Could I really make a difference to people's lives? I don't feel worthy. I don't feel good enough. And yet God looks at you and says, even when you don't feel worthy and you don't feel good enough, it does not disqualify you from going for everything that I've called you to do, because when you are weak, His strength is made perfect. His strength shows up in the places where we feel weak. He says, hey, it's okay. I'm right here with you. Fear not. I'm with you, baby girl. I'm with you, my son. And it's gonna be okay. He's the one who says, no, you are actually called for this. You know, one of my favorite scriptures, as I mentioned, that I got to speak on when I was in Kenya, is Psalm 139. And I mean, I love the entire chapter because it just speaks of the intimacy and the love of God and how close He is and how much He loves us and knows us and understands us. But one thing that really God was highlighting to me when I was in Kenya recently and speaking at a conference out there, it was a conference that was talking about taking new grounds. And God began to speak to me and say that actually the things that sometimes we're looking at and we're saying these are new grounds, He says those are not new grounds. Those are the grounds that I actually created you to take and to walk into. They actually already belong to you before you even stepped into time, before you even stepped into this world. Those things were created for you to grab a hold of. Those visions, those dreams, those things that are going to change people's lives, I've actually prepared them for you as my child, as my son and daughter. And they're actually your destiny and your inheritance. And so Psalm 139, and from verse 16 it says, your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me when as yet there were none of them. Do you know what? The days were fashioned for you, not you fashioned for the days. God created the days with you in mind. He said, what would be perfect? What would be good? What would be glorious? What would be lovely for my children to live in? What does it look like? And He shaped everything with you in mind, because it's your destiny. Everything that He's put on your heart to do, and you're feeling like you're not good enough, and you've had voices that have criticized you and tried to beat you down and to make you small. God says, no. You were fashioned before time to walk into those things. It's your destiny. And as soon as you just step up and you begin to walk towards it, even if you don't feel like you have what it takes, He says, because it's your destiny, because it's your inheritance, because it's what I've actually placed you on this earth to do, it's gonna open up to you. And as you walk towards it, you find that your confidence grows, because you begin to realize that you are more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus, that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. This is who you are, son and daughter of God. Arise and begin to walk towards your destiny. It's okay. You can even do it afraid. It's gonna be all right. Thank you so much for joining me today on Signed by Love.